The next session is about the changing business landscape, the new rules of business. And to kick off, it's somebody who is a pretty expert trend forecaster who's worked with big brands from Nike to Google to the BBC, and now works in New York with the agency RGA. Please welcome Jess Greenwood.
Right. I am going to talk about the transformation economy, which is how to make money by helping people help themselves. This will become clearer as we're going through this. But interestingly, the thing that we just saw, Spiegler, he was kind of interesting. He's a perfect segue into what I want to talk about now. Because about 10 months ago, I was having a desperate head-in-hands moment with the technology industry in general. Not technology, but the technology industry. You see this quote here. I was reading this article in the New York Times. Big venture capitalist saying what happened over the last couple of years is the Valley lost its association with being the place where you were in love with technology and innovation and became the place where you were in love with getting rich based on whatever scheme you can come up with. Does everybody recognize that sentiment? Right, lots of nodding. She said it in 2001. And that was an article from 2001. And I feel like things are getting a little bit worse. I feel like there is this constant cycle that I've been sort of caught in. And this is, my view of this has definitely changed. But basically, you have Exhibit A, cash-hungry venture capitalist. Exhibit B, tech opportunist with MBA. Exhibit C, startup tech blogger with word count to fill. And what happens is that basically all of these things are feeding off each other. So everything is being reported as if it's equally weighted, as if it's equally important. I don't count Wired in this. Wired was my beacon of light while all this was going on. But I was just looking at everything going, I can't read about another thing that has no reason to exist. It's getting really, really difficult to tell what's actually real and what merely exists. And I was talking to a friend of mine about this, a guy called Stephen Dean, who runs the New York chapter of an organization called The Quantified Self, which is all about self-monitoring and data. Some of you guys, yeah, everybody's nodding, okay, cool. So he runs the New York chapter of The Quantified Self, and he was saying, right, okay, if you're feeling a bit depressed about the technology industry, you might want to look at these guys. This is Ginger.io. Ginger.io is a company that is using mobile phone data. They have a huge behavioral data platform using mobile phone data to turn this mobile data into health insights. And where they started was in depression, in starting to try and treat manic depression. What they were doing is using things like the length of your text message, tracking the sort of GPS of how you move around with your mobile phone, tracking how many apps you use, what generally you're doing with your mobile phone. And using that to see, if you're a sufferer from chronic depression, one of the things that happens if you're about to have a relapse is you stop moving. You stop engaging with people. You stop texting people. The average length of a text message gets smaller. You stop using as many apps, and you definitely stop physically moving around. And Ginger.io are looking at using this kind of data to see if you can preempt that. So if people are starting to sort of wobble, then there are a couple of ways you can preempt that. You can up their dosage of medication, so when it hits, it's not as bad. Or alternatively, you can reach out to their social network saying, this person's starting to go down. You need to get around there now and support them. So they're doing all of this interesting stuff. And because it was movement-based, I sort of picked up on it really quickly. I've been thinking a lot about movement and physicality recently because I just started working for the company that made this. And this is the Nike Fuelband. Can you put your hand up if you know what this is? Right, there's like 130 people in this room checked in on Foursquare. I'd be very disappointed if you didn't actually know what this is as well. You're a good tech audience. The interesting thing about this, I'm just going to show a quick demo video that shows you what it does, because I think it's important to show Fuel in the context of the whole ecosystem.
Nike's mission has always been to bring inspiration and innovation to every athlete in the world. They've done this in the past by making great products and then telling people about them. 7 years ago, with the launch of Nike Plus, they started a journey that has taken them from being a company that makes shoes and apparel to a products and services company. Nike Plus has grown to 6 million active members using it on average 3 times a week. But now it's about to get even bigger. This year, with the launch of Nike Plus Fuelband, a metric that measures all activity called Nike Fuel, ties all these products and services together into a connected ecosystem. Like calories, Nike Fuel is a way to gauge your daily activity. But unlike calories, which people burn at different rates depending upon body type, Nike Fuel is the only standard that lets you compare yourself with anyone else, no matter who they are or what they're doing. Walk, run, dance, skateboard, play basketball, it all counts. Nike Fuelband is the device you wear that tracks everything you do. One button lets you check your fuel, calories, steps, and time. The LED lights change from red to yellow, and when you hit your goal, green.
We've built it to be a motivational game. Getting to your goal every day is the core part of the experience.
When you consistently hit your goal, Fuelly helps you celebrate.
The social part is actually what keeps it really sticky. It's kind of that competition that keeps you coming back. Anyone who you're friends with on Facebook will be in your leaderboard.
When you buy a Fuelband, you automatically become part of the Nike Plus community, which includes Nike Plus running, training, and basketball. Now the Nike Plus platform is set to grow exponentially with more members who are active every day.
When it came time to launch the product, we came up with one word that summarized it all: counts.
Can you count, suckers?
Everything you do counts. That became the basis for the campaign introducing Nike Fuel to the world. Consumer demand was so high, pre-orders sold out within minutes.
What I hope we can see in the metrics is that people have become more active through wearing their fuel bands. That for me would be the ultimate measure of our success.
Fuelband is transforming how we measure performance, and it represents a new mission for Nike as an organization, creating products and services that become a part of people's everyday lives, with motivation built in. It's a commitment we've seen evolve over 2 years of collaborating with Nike on the Fuel experience. From the Fuel metric itself, to the mobile and platform integration, to social engagements, and ultimately the launch of the Fuelband. This puts Nike in an exclusive family of fast-growing companies that have created functionally integrated systems.
Today's announcement is exciting. Anything to get people moving.
I'm so sorry.
Compare my scores with everybody else is going to be cool.
Nike has this saying, if you have a body, you are an athlete, and now this is finally coming true.
Yeah, unfortunately we didn't have time to edit out Lance Armstrong, unlike the Tour de France, who edited him out very quickly, as it turned out. The thing that I was thinking about with this, Nike's mission has always been to inspire and enable athletes of any level, and that is a great mission, but this represents a bit of a departure for Nike in two ways. One, it takes exercise outside of the time frames in which exercise normally happens, so when you're in the gym or when you're on the treadmill, whatever it is that you're doing. Now this thing is with you all the time. It very quickly replaced my partner as the first thing I think about in the morning and the last thing I think about at night. It's weirdly motivating. The way that the gamification, like funny things happen when you start messing with people's brainwaves in that sort of gamified way, and it becomes very, very empowering, very kind of, it's almost addicting, I think, to deal with. And the other thing that I think about it is that because they have this mission about inspiring and enabling athletes of any level, that's awesome, but in order to be able to take part in that, you have to have already self-identified as an athlete. You have to think, actually, I am an athletic person. If you have a body, you're an athlete, but you have to realize that for yourself. And the thing that I really like about Fuel is it's actually kind of wonderful for people who haven't already self-identified as athletes, people who could really do with a bit more movement in their lives and aren't those Nike kind of go for the burn, super healthy kind of people. And I sort of tested this. I gave this to I bought one for my mum, who was getting on a little bit, and it is my birthright is a sort of long line of gigantic asses. She's quite a sort of big lady, and she has been using this and is losing weight and is motivated by it and finds it fun and playful and interesting, and is all of a sudden every technology that I've given her to play with over the years has sort of not really caught on, but she understands this and she loves it, and it's transformative for her. I also have started running as a result of this because I actually noticed that if you run, it canes your fuel score for the day. You kind of hit your fuel score very easily. So all of a sudden, people are going from not just being, Nike is transforming people, not just from being good athletes to slightly better athletes, like knocking a minute off a run time or something like that. But you're actually going from inactive people to active people. You're becoming a different person because of Nike. My mum is a different person now because of Nike, which is really extraordinary. And so I started thinking about this kind of long-term transformational stuff. In the context as well, somebody actually told me this last night, and I went to check it out. This is the first year in history that more people will die due to obesity-related rather than malnutrition-related illness. Can we have a little think about that? It's the first year in history that more people will overeat rather than undereat themselves to death. And that is astonishing. It's taken half a century for that to happen. So somewhere in the 1950s, 1960s, the deeply impoverished started being the larger people in the room rather than the skinnier people in the room. And that's what has happened to us. So all of a sudden, there is this massive market for getting these people who are not self-identified as athletes off their bottoms. And I started thinking, there was about sort of, when was it? About 10 years ago, somebody wrote a book called The Experience Economy. It was about how brands were pouring money into experiences in exchange for the sort of products and getting them to buy the products and services they were selling. So the sort of way that this works is you start with a commodity, bunch up to a product, then add a service onto it, and then an experience. Probably the best way to look at this is through an example, which is Starbucks. So Starbucks, you start with a commodity, which is a coffee bean. It goes to a product, which is a packet of coffee that you buy at home and make yourself. Then a service, which is we're actually going to make the coffee for you. And then there's Starbucks. The reason that you queue for Starbucks is not because the coffee is better than it is anywhere else. It's because it's Starbucks. It's because they've made an experience around it that draws people in. And I was looking at this line, and I was thinking that this whole transformation thing is actually going one step further. So the beginning bit, we're selling lots of stuff. The product, we're selling lots of expensive stuff because we're packaging it and making it look nice. Services, we're selling access to stuff. And experiences, we're selling stuff and fun, which was kind of as good as it gets. You had to buy stuff, but you got something kind of fun in exchange for it. And this transformation thing is actually selling a way to be different, selling a way to considerably change your quality of life. And I'm so interested in this, and it's coming up in lots of different areas. And I'm going to do some sort of quick and dirty examples, just so you know this isn't all in my head. Quick definition, the transformation economy is the exchange of cash for goods or services that could considerably improve the quality of life of the consumer who buys them for the long term. So the long-term thing is the really important thing here, because advertising would have you believe that we've been living in the transformation economy forever. That is the fundamental premise of advertising, that if you buy this toothpaste, you will be different on the other side of it. Every TV commercial is selling the promise of being a different person, is selling the promise of just like the wonderful life you'll have with this DFS sofa. You'll be like these shiny, wonderful people. But this isn't advertising. This is a product or service that people pay for. That's very, very important. And it's not corporate social responsibility either. Corporate social responsibility is this really awful thing that's been sort of hived off as it's like charity, or it's a sort of box to tick at the end of the year going, well, we did our corporate social responsibility, we gave money to this charity, we did this. And there's nothing about this that's actually tied to the commercial operations of the company who's doing it, which is why it always falls by the wayside. And when the chips are down, when the recession hits, people will cut corporate social responsibility initiatives because they're not fundamental to the way in which that company operates. So this is a way to make money through happier customers, to actually reconcile, for the first time, I think, the good of the consumer with the good of the company. So, quick and dirty examples of the burgeoning transformation economy. There are a couple of these, not all of these technology related, and I think there are bits coming up here and there, so if you keep an eye out for these, because they are sort of happening. First one was last year, which was Amex, the Amex Small Business Saturday, which was Amex deciding, I moved to America about a year ago. Does everyone know what Black Friday is? Like, Black Friday is the day before Thanksgiving when they have all of the crazy sales. And I just arrived in America to the news that the sale had been, like, people had been so enthusiastic that someone had been pepper sprayed in the face for a 50% off TV. And I'm just like, this place is screwed, I'm out of it, like, kind of. But, so those kind of things happen quite often. But Black Friday is this miserable experience where literally people climb over each other to get into Best Buy and get a 50% off TV. And then on Monday, there's Cyber Monday, which somebody coined as the online shopping thing, where you spend lots of money online. And the thing that was getting lost in all of this was small businesses who couldn't offer these kind of discounts and didn't have online stores. So Amex basically set up Small Business Saturday, big campaign, said to everybody, please use your Amex, flex your Amex, so Amex is getting something out of it. On this Saturday, go into your small business and support it. Buy something and support it. And this is so interesting. This is Scott Krugman, who works for American Express, saying, we're reading testimonials and hearing merchants say, because of Small Business Saturday, my year-over-year sales were 40% higher. That's so great. 40% increase in profits because of Amex is an absolutely extraordinary gift to be able to give people. But Amex is making money about it. There's the average transaction fee, that's it. The average transaction fee went on Amex card went up 23% during Small Business Saturday. It was so effective for them. They made so much money off it. But so did everybody else. And that's the transformation economy, the fact that they were able to make money and so were their customers. This is another one that I thought was really interesting. Delta Airlines. The experience of flying internally in the US is not fun. Domestic air travel in the US is miserable because everybody flies all the time, and it's a very kind of sort of shambolic thing. And this is Bob Cutmans, who is the VP of Digital Marketing and Digital Commerce in Delta, who is a really, really intelligent guy and has realized that there are certain things about that travel experience that he cannot fix. And there are certain things about it that he can fix. And he basically says, operationally, we save money the less anxious and the more in control our customers are. So the more we can put our customers in control, the less anxious they are, the less miserable they are, the less they complain, we save operations money on that. So he said, our goal is to make people better, happier travelers. We could blow our entire marketing budget for the year trying to stop bags from getting lost. You could literally pour everything into trying to get bags into the right place, and it wouldn't make any difference. Bags would get lost. He said, or we could use a small piece of the marketing budget transforming the experience of losing a bag. So this is what they did. Can we just play this one?
You're on your way once again. You've packed your clothes, your overnight kit, and let's be honest, your expectations. You expect that your bag will arrive at your destination just as surely as you will. And rightfully so. That's why Delta created this, the new baggage tracker on the Fly Delta app.
Hello, sir. How may I help you?
I've checked in, and I need to check my bag.
Do you have a boarding pass?
I sure do.
Now you can be on your flight without wondering if your bags are. Register. Track. We'll even tell you where to claim your stuff. Which is a good thing, because the Fly Delta app doesn't just help you find your bag. It helps you find a little peace of mind.
It will tell you if your bag's gone to Peru. It will tell you that your bag's gone to Peru. And there's something weirdly, he said, even I was talking to him about it, and there's something actually weirdly comforting about knowing that your bag is in Peru and it's not lost. There's a sort of, like, with me is the ideal scenario. In Peru is sort of slightly further down than that, and then lost is just the end of the world, because you're like, I'm not sure whether I'm going to see this again. But this little bit of technology that created to sort of reassure people's frame of mind and to move them more quickly through the airport at the end of it, because they know where baggage claim is, that saves Delta money, and it also, and it's better for the consumer. So this one I absolutely love. This is the CMO of Allstate saying, we believe in committed relationships, period. Allstate is a massive insurance company that operates across North America and also bits of Latin America. They put out a press release a couple of months ago, actually. When was it? Sort of summer. Saying, very quiet press release, saying Allstate will now be the first insurer in the US to afford equal privileges to people who live together but aren't married as to couples who are married. And that's actually domestic partnerships. They're like, okay, that seems fair enough. That's a bold thing to do. But by putting it out at that time, what Allstate was actually doing was taking a stand on gay marriage. Taking a stand, which in America is this, I can't believe it's even under discussion, but it is. It's a massive hot potato in the upcoming election, whether sort of the gay community should have a right to marry or not. And Allstate, by coming out and saying we are the first insurer that will enable gay couples who live together to be afforded the same rights as married couples who live together, was just this incredible stand that they took. Sorry, I love this. I was trying to get it in somewhere. You can say what you like about the gay community. They have the best signs. But basically, so by doing this, and Allstate was putting this out, and everyone like, this is wonderful, this is so awesome, this is a basic human rights thing that Allstate's managed to do, and they're like, yeah, and it also sort of, depending on whether, like, what sort of statistics you believe in, we've also just opened up about 50 million extra customers for ourselves, about 10 million extra households in the US that will now pay for Allstate because we've actually just taken this very quiet stand on what to do. So there's something in it for them, and there's obviously something in it for the audience. And then final one, I don't even know what to say about this. I'm assuming everybody was watching, right? Right. I was watching with my nephews who were 5 and 3 and had no idea what they were looking at. It was just extraordinary. But the thing that I've been trying to follow up on from this, and the thing that I've been sort of reading up around, is that this is a marketing exercise, but it's a marketing. Apparently, the value to Red Bull has been estimated at anything between 1 and 5 billion. So it was a very successful marketing exercise as far as that goes. So it took them 7 years to do. It was over in 3 hours, and cost millions and millions of dollars. But the thing that came out of it is listening to the NASA scientists talking about what the information was that they got out of the suit wiring afterwards. They wired up every single bit of his biology. And then are using that to develop sort of safer spacesuits for future space travel. And because commercial space travel is becoming a very real thing, this is all of a sudden having implications for more people than just astronauts. This is becoming something that we all sort of, God willing, we all might be able to sort of have a look at. And this is Dustin Gummer, who runs the NASA Crew Survival Engineering Unit at the Johnson Space Center, saying, and this is a NASA scientist talking about a Red Bull marketing team. I think all of us here in our lab have looked at this in wonder and amazement and really appreciated what they did. The efficiency that they brought it forth with is also a model for us to learn from as well. And so the idea that by committing to something much, much bigger than yourself, you could create some kind of data that could be transformative for everybody is kind of astonishing. The other thing about this was one of the scientists working in this group was actually the husband of one of the astronauts who died in the Columbia space disaster. And listening to him talk about how space travel is going to be safer now because of this thing is actually just extraordinarily moving and very, very powerful. So on that note, tips for transformation, I'm running over, so I've got to get off. Consider the actual long term. What do people need? And not, what do they actually need? And rather than what you think they need, but what do they actually need? What's the real social problem that we're trying to solve? What do they need in the long term? So how can you actually contribute something rather than getting onto this sort of short-term product cycle? If you work in technology, how can you contribute something for the long term rather than trying to make a quick buck and get out? And also, hire a chief experience officer. This is just something that I've been thinking about. There is actually the chief marketing officer and the chief technology officer and the chief information officer and the CEO don't often know how to do this stuff. They don't often think about the consumer experience first. They think about marketing and technology. So there is a definite role, I think, for a chief experience officer whose role it is to think about the consumer experience of all of those different products, how they fit together, and how to make the consumer a better, happier person because of it. Thank you.